F1 is home to some of the highest paid athletes in the world. But even though every driver on the grid has an annual salary of over $1 million, their individual paychecks vary tremendously. And this video reveals how big that gap is between first and second drivers, and also whether experience trumps young talent and potential. This season, Max Verstappen received a salary of around $25 million at Red Bull. Alex Albon, on the other hand, received $2.5 million, just 1/10 of what his teammate earned. Yes, Alex is less experienced and may not be as valuable as Max, but this trend continues when you look at other teams as well. For example, Mercedes pay Lewis an astonishing $40 million, while Bottas receives just $80% less than his teammate. And it doesn't stop here. At McLaren, the same issue prevails, and that's the case with almost every major team on the grid. So what exactly calls for such a huge difference in pay? The obvious answer would be experience. Big names like Hamilton, Vettel, and Ricciardo have been in the sport for a while and already proved their skills on the track. After all, most competitive teams are willing to pay whatever it takes to acquire a driver that has won races in the past. Although the relationship between experience and pay isn't that straightforward. As drivers gain more experience, they also gain age, which means that they slowly lose value for teams who are looking towards the future. For example, let's look at Kimi Räikkönen, the most experienced driver on the grid. In 2007, he earned a salary of $51 million. Although if you look at 2020, when he's 41, his salary decreased to just $5 million. Yes, during these years he did move from Ferrari to a smaller team, but the fact that Ferrari let him go in the first place is a telltale sign that experience can be trumped by rising talent and potential. In this case, it was Charles Leclerc, who represented the flip side of this model. In 2017, when he made his debut with Alfa Romeo, his annual salary was just $150,000. Now, he earns more than 50 times more, and this increasing trend is bound to grow within the next couple years. So it seems like experience and pay has sort of a parabolic relationship that peaks out around 25 to 30 years old, and then decreases from there. Which does seem convincing, but if we look at the age of the highest paid driver on the grid, Lewis Hamilton, there seems to be some exceptions to this rule. Hamilton will be 36 this year, and if we look at his income graph, the trend seems to hint towards his salary continuing to grow. This is partly due to every driver being different, and there's no one-size-fits-all when trying to identify the age drivers begin to decline. For example, Sebastian Vettel, who is 33, hasn't achieved as much success now as he did in his younger days at Red Bull. Of course, Ferrari have had some bad recent years, but the age drivers lose value is totally different for every driver. So that gives us a good picture of the experienced drivers on the grid. But what about the newcomers and the drivers who are in their peak right now? Currently, Max Verstappen is the most paid of the younger drivers, and it's quite obvious why. His racing pace, skill set, and consistency speak for itself, and Red Bull will do everything in their power to maintain the young prodigy, even if that means cutting from the second driver's salary. Because after all, teams don't have unlimited funds to play with. If spending huge amounts of money has to be done, teams have to cut back on other expenses, including their second driver. And as for the rookies, they earn less because, one, they could just be racing for a smaller, less competitive team, or two, that they haven't yet shown their value yet. At the beginning of a driver's career, teams don't really have any concrete evidence to hire them. Of course, they will look at F2 and previous racing results and invest a lot in junior driving programs, but teams are often not willing to take such big risks, especially on drivers who have just begun their journeys in F1. Of course, this is all just my theory, and I'd love to hear what are your thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time on Race Day Recap.